A list of good reading and good writing could be endless. In this slideshow, I'll be highlighting what I believe to be some of the most critical elements of literacy. When it comes to reading, we spend a good deal of time grappling with the what. What should I read? An at least equally important question is how. How should I read? In other words, what comprises good reading? Let's look at 6 key elements to good reading, investments that pay worthwhile dividends at the close of the book. First, study the cover completely. This practice helps to prepare the reader for the organization of the basic plot, gives a surface description of the main characters, and familiarizes the reader with the author of the work. Once the reader has studied the cover, it's now time to ensure that the reading environment is one in which the reader will not become easily distracted. And this takes us to our next element, goals. Particularly when reading works of fiction, it's important to set a time or a page goal. The purpose of this is to avoid certain pitfalls in reading. First, we don't want to find ourselves stuck in the same book for an inordinate period of time. Next, setting a page goal, for example, increases the chance that when we return to the book, we'll more easily recall what we most recently read. And lastly, consistently setting a time or a page number goal is one way to develop self-discipline as a reader. Once we've set our goal, we then apply the next element of good reading, focus. Focused reading requires serious determination. And if we at any time during our reading become distracted by outside sources or by our own preoccupations with other thoughts, we're wise to stop reading, find the place on the page where we lost our way, and begin again. As we read, we sometimes find ourselves confused or curious about particular parts of the book. This is natural, and it helps to keep a notebook next to us as we read. In this, the notebook, we can jot down those questions, those curiosities, or areas of general confusion in order to later delve into them, thereby becoming more learned in the process. And lastly, write personal responses throughout the reading process. These responses help us to become more personally connected to the story. A lot could be said about the literary personal response process. Suffice it to say, and for purposes of this presentation, this practice results in a significant increase in the many benefits of reading. Now, let's review the 6 elements of good reading that we discussed. First, study the book's cover. Number 2, ensure a good reading environment. 3, set a time or a page goal. 4, commit to staying focused. 5, keep a notebook for questions, curiosities, or general areas of confusion. And last, number 6, write personal responses to the literature. Now, let's shift our focus to writing. Deep writing indicates that the writer is taking time to process his or her thoughts and then putting those thoughts, from which a psychological investment was made, into an observable form. When we write deeply, something magical begins to happen. But this requires that we know how to write deeply, thereby writing effectively. Here's a list of some of the key elements of effective writing. First of all, it's important to know the 4 types of writing. They are expository, persuasive, descriptive, and narrative. While in many cases more than one type of writing is used in a written piece, a good thesis of the writing will always indicate not only the primary purpose, but also the primary type of writing that's used in the work. Producing good writing is difficult. And that's why it's so important to make a commitment when launching a writing project. Just like so many other things in life, commitment is a key element to the ultimate goal, which is to succeed. Next, it's important that the writer knows the topic thoroughly. In short order, a reader will sense when an author hasn't done their research. And lastly, edit often. Making changes to writing is not just important after the writing is completed, but should be done throughout the process. Now, let's review the 4 elements of good writing that were discussed. First, know the types of writing. Second, make a commitment. Third, know the topic thoroughly. And last, edit often. Thank you for listening to this presentation on the elements of good reading and good writing.